If you like this episode, please support our podcast by going to talkmurder.com/join and becoming a Talco Supremo.
And a shout out to one of the messages that we got over the Christmas holiday from one of our Taco Supremos whose child really loves the Surprise Shot song.
With the raspberries.
Thank you, Megan, for sharing this video. So cute.
Can you say surprise shots? Surprise shots. We don't know what they are because they're a surprise.
What?
Alrighty, welcome guys back to Talk Murder to Me. John and Nicole here. We're still missing Jen. Very sad.
Jen will be back on Thursday.
Yes, on Thursday's episode, she'll be back. So instead of doing surprise shots, we're just drinking sake shots of sadness. But the sake's pretty good. That was one of our Christmas goodies.
Yeah, fill me up.
I did. It's right there. Are you supposed to take sake
It's really good.
as a shot or like or sip
Well,
it?
I thought it was shots, but that one place that we went, it was like a beer.
No, yeah, they poured it in a wine glass.
Yeah, it was a wine glass. All right, this is the Peter Kürten Part 2.
The Vampire of Düsseldorf. And I actually can't believe I didn't ask this question the first episode. I only thought of it listening back. Like, why didn't I ask this? How did he get his nickname? Because so far, he's not drinking anybody's blood.
I like how you said so far. This is episode 2 where he gets his nickname.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess my question was timely.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a great question, Nicole, and I guess you can just read this to figure it out for yourself.
Okay, well. Oh, well, shit. We didn't talk about this.
I know, it's for episode 2.
Okay. In the case of Oliger,
The 8-year-old, remember?
the 8-year-old that we spent a lot of time talking about, I also sucked blood from the wound on her temple and from Sheer, the stab in the neck. From the girl Schulte, I only licked the blood from her hands. It was the same with the swan in the Hofgarten. I used to stroll at night through the Hofgarten very often, and in the spring of 1930, I noticed a swan sleeping at the edge of the lake. I cut its throat. Blood spurted up, and I drank from the stump and ejaculated. Oh my God, I thought he was like calling swan, like that.
No, like a beautiful white swan.
No, I thought we were talking about the Deliver Justice episode where the woman's name was Swan. I was like,
No,
it's a nickname or it's actually the name. Nope.
Cut a beautiful swan's head off and drank from it. So that's how he gets his name, Vampire of Düsseldorf. That was a good question.
So does he do that for? Did he do that for every victim?
No, I think he started trying it, but I don't think he did it for every victim. In the book, that was actually the only spot where I saw that he did that, unless I missed one or two. But I would have definitely noticed it. But all right, so let me recap from last time. The Vampire of Düsseldorf, Peter Kürten.
Curtain with K.
Kürten. Okay.
It's not as bland and drab otherwise as it sounds.
Yeah, give me some more sake, would you?
Sorry we're drinking sake for a German story, but it's what we had.
I think they drink sake over there.
Well, yeah, but they drink a lot of beer in Germany.
We're drinking sake and wine.
Ooh, shit, sorry.
That's fine. You're sorry for pouring too much? That's not a thing. I'm a huge fan of sake, man.
I like sweet sake. This one's not bad.
Remember
that one time that we tried? I was like, oh my God, that was brutal.
Yeah. All right, so let me recap a little bit. The Vampire of Düsseldorf, Peter Kürten. He had his serial killer spree in 1929. It was basically a 1-year period where he just went crazy. Now, he was a criminal long before that, as we talked about last episode. We talked about his childhood growing up. We talked about how he fell in love with sheep. And then, and then around that time, he linked violence to sex and stuff
Why
like that.
is having sex with sheep so common? Are they like
I don't
easy
know.
targets? You know?
I guess. What the fuck?
Do they
if
not
you-
put up a struggle? Like, do they fall asleep?
If
I
you
don't
live
know.
way out in bumfuck, and there ain't no pretty girls around, or in that case, Pee Wee Gaskin's pretty guys around, then you're just gonna
Go find
find
a
the
sheep.
nearest furry thing. Yeah.
But I feel like sheeps are a very common animal to do.
Yeah,
that
they
with.
are. A lot of people overseas do it.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Like villagers and
all
these.
Oh, I thought you meant men in military. I've heard that.
I've never. I don't know if men in military do it or not.
Well,
If they do and get caught, they'll be definitely kicked out. 'Cause
Oh,
that's
really?
Fucking yeah. Oh, yeah.
well, maybe this was a rumor, but I feel like I remember. So my uncle was in the Navy. He's retired now, but they had a stint in Scotland, and he recalls that being a thing
Oh my god.
because there's a lot of sheep up there.
There's a lot of psychopaths in the military.
It is one
and
of those
sociopaths.
with the
Yeah.
careers of a serial killer.
It is. Like when I was going through my PTSD therapy, I asked my therapist, I asked her because we were doing all these murder podcasts and all these stories, and I was like, I'm kind of worried. I took that psychopathy test. Am I a psychopath? And what she told me, she was like, listen.
And the test said you were. So let's.
She said, yeah, probably. No, she said, listen, you're here right now. A psychopath wouldn't be here.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, exactly. A psychopath.
Is it bad if you stop going?
And then I stopped going. Holy fuck. Holy shit.
Uh-oh.
I'll cut that part out. Yeah, I did stop going. But yeah,
Maybe
it
you
makes
should
sense,
keep your appointments.
And what she was trying to get with it is military has a lot of psychopaths. The guys, in the infantry.
They just want to. I mean, if you think about it, they
Yeah.
want to blow shit up and
Exactly.
kill people.
Exactly. And I was like that too when I was 20 something. Like seriously, I wanted to blow everything up.
So, yeah.
And I would probably still be like that. Well, probably not anymore, but I mean, I was definitely like that around that age. And we did blow a lot of shit up, but
And it was awesome.
and it was awesome. Yeah. So I probably should start going back to therapy. That's what I'm getting at.
Hey, shout out. We forgot to mention this in our last episode, but we had lunch with one of our Taco Supremos, Rhiannon, and her husband, Ray.
Yes.
They were in the Charleston area, hit us up. We had some amazing food with them and their two awesome, pretty cool kids. And we say that saying like John and I don't really like kids, but they're older, so they're cool too. And so John's got his special ops kit shirt, or no, green beret shirt,
Yeah, so
and some goodies from them. So that was awesome. Just want to shout out Rhiannon and Ray, and we are probably going to have to do a show in Destin, Florida.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a really fun time. We went to ate some barbecue, and I wanted to swap some war stories with her husband, but he has me beat by a lot.
He's been deployed more times than you have.
I was just trying to be humble and modest, but Rhiannon's, her encyclopedia of true crime will put anyone to shame. She knows more about true crime stories than I have ever seen.
Yep.
It's crazy. Yeah. But yeah, it was really fun. I had a really good time. So thank you so much. It was really awesome. All right, let's get back to it. First, we're going to talk about the survivors. Well, wait, I didn't finish recapping. All right, to finish recapping. Okay, so I told you a little bit about the execution. Did you want to see that severed head again?
No, I'm good. I'm good. That image is burned in my brain. Thank you.
It is
Just
in the,
like the Luca Magnotta video, which I just finished the miniseries on Netflix. So I'll wait till Jen gets back before we discuss that one.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I had enough of that guy. Luca Magnotta. So the head, Peter Kürten's severed head, is on display in the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum in Wisconsin there. So if you're around there, go see it. Peter Kürten actually requested a pardon, and he had high hopes until the day he got executed that he was going to get a pardon for whatever reason.
Why would he think that?
Because
Like, that is just so fucking disillusioned.
I don't know. But basically, what he thought is the judge was kind of opposed to capital punishment. So he just thought he was just pardoning them altogether. I don't know. It's very delusional. But on the,
it's not like he didn't commit the murder. There's still an alternative sentence here. Canada, you don't know what this is, but it's called life in prison without parole.
Yeah. Oh, and this also caught my attention. During the last month, he made some response to the administrations of the church, and he assured me, the professor writing the sadist book, that the waking fantasies and the sadistic imagery of former times had entirely vanished. He claimed that he was transformed into an entirely new being, although people outside might well not believe it. And that reminds me a lot of Chris Watts right now. I'm a Christian. God forgiven me for killing my entire family.
Piece of shit.
Yeah, they're all pieces of shit. So on July 1st, he received the news that his pardon was not going to go through, and he's an idiot. And quietly and composedly, he went to the block on the 2nd of July, 1931, and he got his head chopped off. The whole
and then sliced in two.
Yeah, so he actually was in, the block. Basically, it's like the guillotine. The guillotine, and they push the thing down over your head to trap your head in. So he was in that for
they
about...
have a basket for your head to roll in.
Yeah, exactly. So about 30 seconds before the blade actually came down. And after that, it was done. I really doubt he fulfilled his last fantasy of hearing the blood squirt out of his own neck, because your ears, right, are in the basket. Well, your ear. Never mind. Fuck. That didn't make any sense.
Leave future John. Please leave that in.
All right.
But I wonder if, just the sound of the whoosh, the guillotine about to, come down upon him was enough to make him ejaculate. I wonder if they checked his pants.
That's a good question. They should have. I don't know, because from what I'm reading in this book, it's like an instantaneous thing. It's like as soon as he sees blood, it's just boom, like no build up or pre-cum or foreplay.
I think foreplay was the word you're looking for.
But he actually was very cooperative. Like I said, he had no incentives to hide any bodies. So he actually made a list of all his victims, if you see
and
here.
This is living or dead.
Yeah, so this is living or dead, and you see case number 6, 46, 57, 58, and it's a complete list. I can put this on Talk Murder, but it goes down, and this is only the ones. What's that?
Lots of struggled freeze. Throttling during coitus.
Yeah, with outcome of throttling without result. Basically, he didn't, But I'll put that on Talk Murder. That's all the ones that he could remember. Obviously there's a lot more. So on this episode, we want to talk about the people. We want to talk a little bit about the survivors, because I think that's the best way to truly know the mind of a killer is if they have any surviving victims. So we're going to start there. And it's very interesting because the way he attacks his victims, they're really random. Most of the victims are really random, except the victims that were his girlfriends. Mm-hmm. But he would basically walk up to some woman walking on the street, alone through a footpath or something, and he would take a noose, like what you hang somebody with, and he would throw the noose around a victim's neck and basically drag them off stage. It reminds me of, if you think about those old TV clips with no sound and the comedians dancing on the stage, and then that one... And maybe he sucks or something, and that one big cane comes out and grabs his neck and then pulls him.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
But there are a couple survivors, and Nicole, you can read some of this stuff.
I had my hands under the cord, and with all my strength, I tried to prevent the man from tightening the noose. I saw that he was very excited and that he was making great efforts to tighten the noose. I stumbled into the ditch towards the bank. The man held the noose tighter. With one hand, with the other, he throttled me. He threw me onto my back, fell to his knees beside me, and kept on strangling me. I caught hold of his nose and pinched the nostrils together. In a last effort, I succeeded in getting up. The man stepped back and took the rope off. He didn't speak a word. I ran away.
Yeah, so pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
If he can't get the victim where he wants them, he'll just quickly stab them to get a little satisfaction, and then run.
On the 3rd of April, 1929, I was walking from the place where I used to work in the north part of the town by an ill-lit street. I heard steps behind me and saw a man coming. I walked more slowly in order to let him pass. The man must have jumped at me very quickly because suddenly something was flung over my head and I was jerked violently backwards. I was pulled from the road into the field. I could not shout, for the man had tried to push a handkerchief into my mouth. I clenched my teeth. He said, half aloud, "Open your mouth." He tightened the loop still more. Then he listened to see whether I still breathed and held his hand in front of my mouth. He then hauled me another 10 meters. I heard steps approaching and tried to shout, but I couldn't. I struggled with my legs. It was then that I was released and the man turned and ran away across the fields. I loosened the loop and dragged myself towards some people who were standing in the road.
So she actually had the noose on her neck, and you see it says, I loosened the loop. I think he's like the only person I've heard doing that with the whole noose really quick.
Yeah, since we've covered anyway.
One guy actually saw one of the women being dragged away, and it says, quote, when I approached, I saw that a man was dragging a woman from behind from across the fields. She was not on all fours, but being literally dragged along the ground.
Yeah, I mean, it's so lucky that so many of these women did get away.
Yeah, and like I said, a lot of times, a lot of the survivors were actually his girlfriends, which is crazy. Now, I don't mean like long-term 7-year girlfriends.
And they never turned him in.
In his own words, he says about one of his affairs, quote, in June 1913, I picked up a girl on the Brimstrasse and took her out on several subsequent occasions. So they were dating, literally. Now, he has a wife at the time, okay, and he's going around and dating. He's not only killing people, but he's dating people. And the wife doesn't know. One Sunday, we went to a dance, and on the way home, I throttled her. He says, I throttled the girl. I mean, they've went out multiple times. He doesn't even use her name. I throttled the girl several times. And by throttle, if you remember from the first episode, I mean choking, not like just being on top of, like choking to death. Now, she got really scared, and that's when Peter Kürten said to her, quote, that's what love's like. I won't kill you, though. Now, after she got up, she ran and informed the authorities. So they already knew about Peter Kürten to begin with. Here's another one of his girlfriends that survived.
I met Titi and had sexual relations with her in her room where she was employed in Bodenstrasse. I got something good to eat there too, and I could do with it, for I had at that time to work pretty hard. A week after meeting Titi, I had become acquainted with Mek, a homemaid in a situation on the Bergischen Landstrasse. There, too, I got something to eat. I often grabbed Titi by the throat and seized hold of her. When she got angry with me, I used to try to pacify her. That's what love means, I told her.
Yeah, so, I mean, fucking crazy.
It's interesting he's also talking about his food, which, I'm also concerned about what I eat and when I eat it. But
his last meal, I believe, it was like I think it was a glass of wine, a Wiener Schnitzel, and like a key lime pie or something like that. So he's killed using multiple weapons. And as I was reading further in the book, I saw one line which said the reason he did that was to kind of confuse the police. So they're not looking for one person. And in fact, the police were looking for multiple suspects. You have a guy killing people with a hammer. You have a guy killing people with a chisel. You have a guy killing people with whatever. Well, we know that the hammer, as I'll show you the hammer strikes in a minute, the hammer was out of commission for him because he actually hit a victim so hard it broke.
Oh.
And that's why he switched to the dagger. But in his words, he says he was trying to throw the cops off.
Wow.
All right, so let's start with the axe first. Now, this is a male victim, right? I told you he doesn't really go after male or female. He's
Could
just
be
trying
a
to get that.
swan. Yeah.
He's just trying anyone that bleeds, basically. So he says, quote, "The drunk man sat on the bench. I approached him from behind and struck him with the sharp edge of an axe. He fell over. I took cover and saw how he bled. Then I
Ejaculated.
ejaculated."
You know what's interesting? I think we talked once, or maybe this was the same one, but we touched on it in the last episode. A man, and he too was like drunk or unconscious. So it seems like that's the only way he'll go after a man.
Yeah.
He feels like he can
Yeah.
take advantage.
Yeah, the other man, that Shear, I think his name was Shear, the other man, he basically just walked up to him and just stabbed him real quick and then
Yeah.
bolted. All right, now, he also killed people with scissors.
Yeah.
This is one of the murder victims, Alberman. Now, it is a child, okay, but I feel like it's important to put in here. This is actually case 67 of, I think it was like 73. So this is almost when he gets caught.
Case 67, the murder of the child Alberman. I set out with a pair of scissors at about 5 o'clock at night. I met a little girl at the Ackerstrasse. I talked to her and asked her quietly if she would come with me. We went into the open, across some allotments as far as the wall of the Handel's place. The child went with me quite willingly and did not cry. I seized the child's throat and strangled it. I stabbed it in the left temple. The child collapsed without a sound. With my left hand, I held fast to her throat, knelt down and stabbed the child's breast with my scissors. With the right hand, I felt the vagina after having removed the knickers. Then I carried the body a few meters towards Lenaustrasse and put it into the stinging nettles. I cleaned my hands on the wet grass. It was raining. There was no bloodstains on me.
Fucking crazy.
It's interesting that he does get sexual sometimes, though.
Yeah. He also kills people with chisels.
So does it only get sexual with children, from what you've noticed?
No.
Because of the girlfriend?
Maybe.
Stuff?
I don't know. That's a good question. Well, the first child we talked about in the first one.
That was still pretty sexual. Talked about removing her knickers and stuff like that then, too.
Yeah. I guess. That's a good question. I didn't actually think about that. But, he also claims that he's not doing it for sexual satisfaction. And a lot of the serial
because he's ejaculating whether or not,
a lot of the serial killers do that. Ted Bundy did that too, if you remember.
Oh, they just said it wasn't.
Yeah, they just said it's not. Okay, so here's some chisel kills. Quote, "I hit the girl several times," this is another victim, "with a chisel, and then she fell down. I went off and ejaculated." I mean, we're probably not even going to say that anymore. Just put that in there.
We get it.
Okay. Yeah. And here's another chisel if you want to read this one.
Case 61, Sophie Ruck. In autumn of 1929, I met a couple in the Rosastrasse. I wanted to interfere, so I hit the man over the head with a chisel. The man ran away. Then, all together now, he ejaculated.
That's going to be the title of this one. Then I ejaculated. Holy Jesus, freak. All right, let me see. Let's talk about the first murder right quick to kind of go back. Now, this is what he claims is his first murder. It was November 1899. It was an 18-year-old girl, and they actually went to the do you know what a Hofgarten is?
No. I was going to say no.
Yeah, I think it's like a beer garden or like just a bar or something, like a brewery maybe. I'm not sure though. I went with her to the Hofgarten, past the zoo, and on the way home, I took her into the country and I throttled her. That's his words. And then he leaves her there, but he's not sure if she was dead or not. He basically choked her to death. Mm. And actually, the police never found out that they never connected that, and they couldn't even find the victim. So that might not even have been a murder, but that was like his first time killing a human. Choked her to death, and the police actually
You mean before the child?
Before the child. This is like the first one ever, 1899.
Oh,
remember
gotcha.
These other murders in 1929, so 3 years later. June 1913, he picks up another girl. They start dating, literally, and they go to a dance on the way home. same shit. He brings her into the woods, throttles her by choking her to death, and says that's what love's like, you know. So he also used axes as one of his weapons. Now this is he calls them choppers.
Choppers.
Like, get to the chopper, yeah, kind of shit.
I feel like axes make quite a many appearance in this podcast. We do a lot of murders with axes.
Yeah. So this is case number 8.
Going back. One Saturday evening in June 1913, I left home at 8 o'clock and set forth a Gersheim. From a cellar under the Holy Trinity Church, I took a chopper. At about 11 o'clock, I saw an unaccompanied girl enter a house. In the passage, I gave her a sharp and heavy blow on the head so that she crumpled without a murmur. The girl was about 1.68 meters tall, slim, between 18 and 20 years of age.
There was also one time that he had 2 victims simultaneously. These are two girls. They were best friends. And this is case 58. It says, quote, I went back to the place where Linzen, the bigger girl, had left us. Now, he meets these 2 girls. They're best friends. They're at a carnival. They're playing games. And he comes up and talks to them. And there's what he calls a bigger girl, you know, chubby girl. And then there's a smaller, slim girl. He's basically hitting on the slim girl, and he kind of demands the chubbier girl to go get him some cigarettes. And she does. And after that, they all meet up again, and then they walk home. And this is kind of what happens. He says, quote, she gave me the cigarettes. I seized her by the throat and strangled her. I mean, it's like, here's your cigarettes. Oh, thank you. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck?
But again, going back to the whole nickname, so he's not doing the whole blood sucking thing every time.
Yeah, I only saw a few times where he was doing tasting the blood, but honestly, it may have been one of those things that he didn't want to admit, because the professor that wrote this book actually had to pry it out of him, you can tell, you know, and that's when he was like, the only time I did that was, you know, this time.
This time, and this time, and this time.
And then it was just kind of like, and he may have been doing it the entire time, but I believe that's where he got his nickname from.
Well, I mean, I know. Like, I was just wondering if it was maybe the media that blew it out of proportion.
Oh yeah, they definitely blew it out of proportion. But then he goes on, with my left arm, I seized her round the body and carried her, still throttling her, down the path round the bean patch to the garden, so that I was hidden by the beans. All right.
Well, saved by the means.
Yeah. Let's see. I seized her throat, and I drew my dagger from my pocket, put it in my right hand, stabbed her in the breast and side. Then I relaxed my grip. And then he says, she sank to the ground. The bigger girl sank to the ground. Then I made off, and at 11:30, I was home again. My wife was still awake. We talked naturally. I was like, what the fuck? Holy shit. So we're going to kind of end this episode with probably the worst, disgusting, and vile murder he's done.
Great.
Yeah. So this is actually summer of 1913. Now, I don't know if I talked about this last episode, but he used to rob a lot. Like go in and rob. I mean, you know, for jewelry and to sell it.
I wonder if he like graduated from the robbing.
Oh, yeah. Well, remember, he was in prison quite young.
So much light came through the window from the street that I could see clearly everything in the room. In the bed, I saw a sleeping girl of about 10, covered with a thick feather bed. She was lying with her head towards the window. I seized her by the neck with my hands and throttled her for 1 or 2 minutes. The child woke up, struggled to free herself, scratched my hand, and then became unconscious and still. Her arms were thrown up above her head. I then drew her head over the edge of the bed and threw the feather bed to the foot of it. With 1 or 2 fingers, I penetrated the genitals. With a small but sharp pocket knife, I made a deep cut in the throat of the child. I started on the left side of the throat, drawing the knife to the right with the right hand. I heard the blood gurgle up and drip on the mat. It spattered my hand. The whole business did not take more than 3 minutes. I left the room and made off. I wonder if the sexual, I know I mentioned this before. Maybe he's Maybe the reason why he's able to do sexual things with the child is because they're a little bit more defenseless.
I don't know. That's a good question that you brought that up. I actually didn't even think about that because
But then
I don't
again,
know.
if some of these victims were his girlfriends, I mean, there's probably some sexualness there too.
Yeah.
But that part might be consensual.
Yeah, so that was probably one of the. So basically, he breaks into this home, and there's a little girl, 10-year-old girl, sleeping like upstairs. The parents are home and everything. He just randomly jumps on the bed and pulls out a pocket knife and slits her throat from left ear to right ear. It's fucking crazy. The autopsy showed that the actual child's tongue was bitten off. Like half of it was bitten off.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and the throat had 2 wounds that were separated from each other, so she was actually choked as well as slit.
Ugh.
The bronchial tubes were filled with blood, and that both cardioids were undamaged. And also it says, quote, the perineum was torn from vagina to rectum.
Oh.
That's like, several tears extending to the mucous membrane of the upper vaginal passage. So, you know what? Now that I think about it, all right. So it seems that he's doing a lot of sexual acts to children, but I wonder it's because, they're virgins and, it's
more gratifying.
It could be more damaging down there. You know what I'm saying?
There's going to be blood there.
Yeah, because I don't think he raped this child. I think he just, completely with his knife just
slit it,
damaged it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it is. It's fucking bizarre.
Yeah, exactly. And the bottom line of this case is he doesn't achieve sexual gratification with sex or anything. It's only the sight of someone in intense pain, bleeding, and all this stuff. Excruciating pain. That's what gets him off. Remember last episode I said if he wants to, if he could see a mass casualty situation, that would be perfect for him.
Yeah.
So the train killer, Matuska, he was a sadist too. Now that you think about it,
yeah.
Because that was like the first case that we covered that was like that. It was so odd, But now that this one kind of compares to it, it makes more sense. And in fact, Peter Kürten goes to court and all this stuff, and he actually went through the whole trial, and he didn't deny anything, in fact, he asked for forgiveness from the families, all the families. And he says, I know exactly what I did. I want my punishment to be just and all this stuff. But he also said, and this is important, kind of like, it's not his fault. Not his fault, but he's got like a mental illness, and I wonder if that is true. That he really cannot stop it.
Well, I agree. He's got some sort of fucking mental illness.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's really scary because how many people are like that out today? That they get this urge that's so powerful that they can't control it, and they are sadists like this. Even in this book, it mentioned it once, and I want to revisit it someday once we find more cases like this. But I know there was 2 cases that we've done that the killer has mentioned this. One of them was that Elizabeth Wetlaufer, the angel of death.
Yep.
She said very specifically that when she is about to kill, she sees red, like a surge of red. A red surge is what she called it. Huh. This guy said the same thing. He said his entire vision kind of goes red. And I wonder if there's something to that, a psychology, some kind of physiology towards that, because it's very interesting. And this is like probably the 3rd time I've seen that.
Maybe just like the thought of blood enters into their subconscious.
I don't know.
And
maybe
that's what makes them like see red. I don't know.
But yeah. So
if any of our tacos know, I feel like that's probably
oh shit.
I feel like someone would know that who listens.
Yeah. I mean, we could get more into the killings on this one, but I think you guys are good. You guys know who this guy is. This one was bad.
And he didn't get his pardon.
He didn't get his pardon.
Poor guy.
He didn't get his pardon, and he asked for forgiveness, and he actually was allowed to write 13 farewell letters right before he got executed
To who?
to the victim's family, asking for forgiveness, saying that he's going to, be in heaven, seeking forgiveness and stuff like that.
First of all, if there is heaven, you will not be there.
Yeah,
sir.
but you got to remember, though, if he can't control it.
That doesn't mean it's like get out of jail free card.
I know it's not get out of jail free card. I get that. But I believe it may be some mental illness that is really.
I think anyone who thinks killing is okay has some sort of a mental illness.
Yeah. Especially the swan.
Yeah.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all for Peter Kürten. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Kind of short episodes here for the holiday seasons,
I can't wait to get back into it.
Yeah, but I hope you guys
Throttle.
have a
I didn't even mean to do that. Throttle. Full throttle.
full throttle. I hope you guys have a great New Year's, and we really hope that 2020.
Our Taco Tuesday episode is going to be released on New Year's Eve.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see you guys then.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Talk Murder to Me. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button or whatever podcasting app you use. If you like this story, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you're absolutely obsessed with this podcast and want to become our sadist, go to talkmurder.com/join. Become a Taco Supremo. Get a badass t-shirt, sticker swag, a lot of love. Shout it out all over the place. Tell me what story you want me to do. I'll research it, dedicate it to you on the Talk Murder podcast. My name is John, and I'm here with Nicole. And until next time, good night, you lovely, lovely people.